Hi, my name is Sudarshan. Welcome to my channel EasyML. In the previous video, we were looking at how we determine the optimum number of clusters whilst deploying the k-means algorithm. In this video, we will see how the k-means algorithm will randomly assign the observations into clusters and iteratively reach the best outcome. If you remember in the previous video, we chose the value of k to be equal to 2. Hence, we will have 2 clusters. Here, as you can see, cluster 1 is encircled in red and cluster 2 is encircled in black. We also have 6 observations on the left-hand side here. I will first assign a numeric value to each of these observations. Essentially, I'm tagging them so that it will be easier for us to trace the cluster assignment throughout the iterations. Now, let us move on to the first iteration. Here, we observe that observations 2, 3, and 4 have been randomly assigned to cluster 1. The red dot here represents the center of cluster 1. We also see that the remaining observations, that is 1, 5, and 6, have been assigned to cluster 2. And the black dot here is the center of cluster 2 in this first iteration. Now recall that the cluster centers are representative of the observations in a particular cluster. In the introduction to cluster analysis video, I had mentioned that one of the main objectives of cluster analysis is to ensure that the cluster centers are as far apart as possible. Therefore, in iteration 1, we see that the clusters are overlapping as the centers are not far apart as such. Hence, the k-means clustering algorithm will move on to the next iteration. In the second iteration, we observe this time that observations 1, 3, and 6 have been assigned to cluster 1. Again, here the red dot represents the center for cluster 1. The remaining observations, that is 2, 4, and 5, have been assigned to the second cluster. Again, the black dot here represents the center of the second cluster. Here we can see that the centers are farther apart in comparison to the centers in the first iteration. This cluster assignment is definitely better than that of the first iteration, but there is still some overlapping here if you observe carefully. Now, these iterations will continue till observations 1, 2, and 3 are assigned to cluster 1 and observations 4, 5, and 6 are assigned to cluster 2. Here, in the nth iteration, we observe that the centers, that is the red dot and the black dot, are farthest apart. This is how the k-means clustering algorithm works. In the next video, we will focus on how we evaluate cluster models. Stay tuned. Thank you.